Fuse is Vancouver Art Gallery's interdisciplinary showcase. It's an event where they can integrate their visual art display with interdisciplinary performances that comment on or relate to the visual artworks being presented. Interdisciplinary would involve music, dance, theater, any kind of variation of the various art disciplines. The motivation for Capilano being involved in Fuse was giving the students an opportunity to have a professional performance and also to connect with one of the major cultural institutions in Vancouver. Working with Vanessa Kwan at the Vancouver Art Gallery was a great exercise for the students in that they had to work with an actual producer of an event and learn how to fit their creative expression into an existing container. That forced the students to simplify their work and clarify their work.
For the theater artists that work at Fuse, and a lot of mostly alternative companies have done material at Fuse, it's that you're not in a traditional theater where the audience sits here and the performance happens here and you control all the elements. I mean, you know, when you're performing at Fuse, people can walk in and out of the room. You know, you really have to catch their attention. Heroes in the Workplace was the most story-oriented piece that the that the cohort created, and there is a main character, a kind of Walter Mitty-like guy who is the first guy in and the last guy out, and it's a story of a bunch of workers arriving at work, doing some work and leaving, and in between a kind of strange magical thing happens that alleviates the tedium. A couple of strange magical things, you know, and then eventually it's over. People leave. Nobody except him is aware that anything was different from any ordinary day.
The street is gray. Chocolate chips. They were doing some work because it was all cracked up.
Untitled Strangers all of these pieces were inspired by the Ian Wallace exhibit. He did a lot of photographs of people at intersections.
We decided that it would be a personal challenge to stand completely still as a performance, as people who could have been on the street.
Our piece was two live performers juxtaposed near the photograph, sort of a live installation of the piece with audio soundscapes of performer monologues, sort of narrating the possibilities for the space in between.
Shoes. Cute shoes. Wish I had legs like that. She's a plastic doll, that's who.
Sex. Laugh. Pee. Drinks. Sex.
If you walked into the room, the first thing you heard was a streetscape. And then there were these podiums, one in front of the man and one in front of the woman.
At one point I walked in there, they'd been standing for about 5 minutes, and there were a group of people on one side of the white line just kind of talking to each other. And actually I walked over and listened to the headphones for a second and put them down, and somebody saw me do it, and they went over and people started going and listening to the headphones. And it was the moment of seeing people starting to line up for the headphones and watching the expression on people's faces and, you know, like amusement, consternation. The third installation was called Heroes Inside. There was a long evolution of that piece, but what it finally consisted of was people. There's an Ian Wallace piece that is a very, very long photograph of a beach on Hornby Island, and he took pictures of his friends in his studio, and then he cut them out and he put them on the photo. They had a photograph of the same spot on Hornby Island that was projected onto a wall, and as people came upstairs, they were invited to have their picture taken, and then they photoshopped them onto the montage, onto that picture. So at the beginning of the evening, when the first people arrived in the art gallery and went into the room where that photo was, there was this big expanse of beautiful outdoors, and over the course of the evening it became more and more populated until the point eventually there were people up in the air, and it was just it was to the point where you could hardly see the landscape anymore. And the other part of this installation was that various people were going around with question and answer sheets and asking people for their ideas of what was heroic and who their heroes were and so on. And then those ideas were tweeted, and there was a screen in the same room with the tweets on them.
My perception is it was a great success. I was really just really impressed with what the students came up with in all 3 instances. I thought they really surpassed themselves in terms of professional execution and in terms of really digging into what this Ian Wallace exhibit was about. And also stepping outside of their own box in terms of how they view performance.